अमेरिका। और आइए सीधा रुख करेंगे राज्यसभा का। वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमण बजट पर जवाब दे रही है।
I thank, I guess, more than 90 speakers. The last count when I entered this house was 88. Now I think subsequently 4 or 5 more have been added. More than 90 speakers have participated in this debate, and I'm grateful that they've spoken so much in detail about the various provisions made in the budget. I'll try to answer most of their concerns, questions, seeking clarification by grouping the questions and concerns raised, and broadly about 16 different categories. They've been grouped, and I'll try to speak about them. At the beginning, sir, at the very beginning, I would want to underline the fact that this budget has been made during a very difficult time. The challenges, particularly the external challenges, are very, very severe, most of which are beyond even any projections or predictions. There are no models that you can build and understand how the trends will be, because they are very dynamic, they're changing by the day. So it's very difficult to reasonably plan up for a budget. But despite that, we have tried keeping the assessments as close as possible to what can develop, keeping India's interest topmost. So this immense uncertainty is still playing out, and many Indian imports, which are very critical for our economy to grow, are also going to be left with uncertainty. So we are trying to make sure that the budget somewhat at least foresees all these and is ready for such eventualities. But even as we say about these things, the budget has very clearly identified the difficulties which are before us, because all these years, possibly even decades, we've been talking about globalization. Now we are facing a situation of fragmentation of the world. Whilst the post-COVID time has made states to borrow, and not just Indian states but countries to borrow, to meet with the specific difficulties that they have to face, and also handhold people and at the same time give growth impetus, has led to a situation where countries are borrowing and rising debt is a problem. Whereas fiscal prudence has always been the matter which gets advocated. People tell that economies will have to be managed more fiscally prudent ways. So globalization versus fragmentation, which is a reality, fiscal prudence versus growing global debt, which is a reality, and everybody wants to have free market situation, but you have aggressive tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers. So you're facing a world where a lot of talk goes on about keep the markets free, but no one country wants to have free market when it comes to their interest. So with all this, the usual practice would be that you will approach multinational institutions to seek redressal or to seek handholding. Multilateral forums have also become today very diluted. They seem to be there but not really exerting themselves even with the given framework of things. So bilateral partnerships and regional forums are the ones which are really governing the situation. So much contrary to all those principles with which the world has moved in terms of an economic order, is all going through a major change. So the uncertainties can be defined in some terms, but you really can't predict what moves. In this situation, the first advanced estimates from the NSO has said that India's economy will grow by 6.4% in real terms and about 9.7% in nominal terms. So the budget this year, we have kept our goals in such a way that we are able to accelerate growth, secure inclusive development, invigorate private sector investments, uplift household sentiments, and also to directly or indirectly enhance spending power of the Indian rising middle class. In all this, we have seen that there are 4 groups of people that if you touch and serve, the impact will be across the country: Garib, youth, Annadata, and Nari. And therefore, every scheme that we have before us has something to bring in terms of benefits for these 4 large groups. Sir, I want to take a minute to put it before this august House that when we are talking about capital expenditure, because I've heard quite a few members speaking about how capital expenditure is probably coming down, the shift is now from moving away from capital expenditure to boosting consumption. I just want to highlight the thought about or the idea of effective capital expenditure. What it does include is core capital outlays in the union budget and also the grants and aid for creation of capital assets to the states. So, though the grants and aid for creation of capital assets is accounted as revenue expenditure in the books of the union government, yet they go to the states to create capital assets, and therefore they are also effectively, eventually, only capital expenditure. So in the budget in the financial year 25-26, which is before us, the effective capital expenditure is projected at 15.48 lakh crore as against 13.18 lakh crore in the RE of 24-25. So there is just no reduction in capital expenditures. But even more, if we take this together with what is done by the public enterprises, they are independent of the budget, they do their own, but they also account for the capital expenditure. If we were to take that also on board, if we take that public enterprises from their own resources, when they invest money for capital expenditure, they do it substantially. And so if I were to include that for the year 25-26, the capital outlay, which I would define as effective capital expenditure, is likely to be in the range of 19.80 lakh crores. So, the concern expressed by some members, which I take up in detail a bit later, but right up front, saying, have sectors been denied money? Have some sectors received lesser than what they received last year? I just want to assure the House, in terms of the numbers that have been presented in the budget, I'll restate them. Sectoral outlays for 25-26, sir. Agriculture and allied activities, 1.71 lakh crores. Rural development, 2.67 lakh crores. These are already given in the budget, it's before us. Urban development and transport, 6.45 lakh crores. Health and education, 2.27 lakh crores. And defense spending, excluding defense pension, is 4.92 lakh crores. So we have not cut down on any sectoral allocations. The total resources being transferred to the states in 25-26 is 25.01 lakh crores. Resources being transferred to the states, which shows an increase of 4.92 lakh crores over the actuals of 23-24. So the portion which has to go to the states are also not cut down. On the contrary, substantial increase has been made in them. So if I spoken specifically about capital expenditure and also sectoral allocations, I want to, because this is the upper house, very experienced members coming from various walks of life are here and who have been in governance are here. I want to highlight a feature of budget making in the last 4 years, 5 years, which speak for themselves. Just 2 examples for each of the years, sir, which is very important considering that members would be eager to know as to how public finance is being managed. Sir, I begin with a contrast note, not so much for talking about whose period it was, is it my period, your period, but when crisis hit countries, and when crisis will have to be managed, and when managing crisis you will have to adopt some methods, and post that the revival. In that sense, I would like to just compare between the global financial crisis as opposed to the crisis of COVID-19, and the crisis of 2008-2009, when India's government's attempt resulted that India became fragile 5, whereas after COVID, the attempt that has been made with targeted support to people who needed help has lifted India from the position where it was in fragile 5, post-COVID, from where it was to where we are today on the top 5 economies. So the measures that have been taken are not attributable to one budget itself. It has been sustained over several budgets since 2020. I want to highlight some features for it from each of them. For instance, 2020-21 budget reveals recurrent themes. From then, it reveals recurring themes of transparency to foster credibility of budget making, reforms to capitalize growth, targeted social security, and use of technology for obtaining value for public money. Today, I think it's a very appreciable point. Today, all over the country, concern about how effectively is the taxpayers' rupee being spent is widely heard. You hear from different sections of the society saying taxpayers' money, you're not, which is a right concern citizens should have. I just want to highlight that in 2020-2021 budget, sir, we brought in the element of transparency and strengthening cooperative federalism. How did we do it? We took a big step of bringing on board FCI's, the Food Corporation of India's, off-budget borrowing of about 1.2 lakh crores onto the budget. We said, yes, it might hit us from the point of view of fiscal deficit, but we will have to do it, bring in credibility to the budget making and transparency. We also strengthened the partnership with the states. It is that year that, not because Finance Commission has recommended it, not at all, we brought in a 50-year interest-free capital assistance to the states, which was not on the basis of a recommendation which the Finance Commission gave. But we started the process then, and when we started it, we just extended 12,000 crores to the states, saying 50 years, you take it, no interest to pay, you can go ahead with what you want to do in terms of capital expenditure. All states, no state left out in that. And that 12,000 crores of 2020-21 today for this year has reached 1,50,000 crores. 50-year interest-free. This year's budget for this year gives 1,50,000 crores for states. No, they can choose the projects they want to do and complete it, asset building. So that has been started from 2020-21, and every year some amount. It's been growing and it has reached this level today. 21-22, sir, again fiscal transparency and technology adoption was taken up for the budget making. We regularized long pending outstanding dues, and this is very interesting, sir, and I'm sure the House will appreciate this point, that we regularized long pending outstanding dues amounting to over 81,000 crores payable to the states under devolution of central taxes for the period. So I was astonished when I started working on it, but I'm glad to say we resolved it. For the period, 81,000 crore for the period, beginning 96-97 until 2017-18, we had to do the calculations to make sure every state in this 81,000 crores, which has been pending over decades, is given that money back. We did that in 21-22. Because Honorable Prime Minister has been a Chief Minister of a state, he knows the difficulty of states, and he said, please sit and clear this up. I don't want this waiting. From 97, it has been waiting, clear it. We cleared 81,000 crores in the year 21-22. I'm very happy that we sorted that out with the consultations held with states as well. So similarly that year, sir, I told you the previous year, we took on board the Food Corporation of India's amounts which were outside of the budget. This year, after having given states their dues, which has been pending from 96-97, we took on board the off-budget borrowings of urban housing from the Ministry of Urban Development, 33,000 crores which was outside of the budget, off-budget borrowing, we brought that back onto the budget, which means we've taken the responsibility to address this. And we also prepaid it. I would like to highlight the fact that clearing debt prior to its due time has also been methodically taken up in each one of our budget exercise. That was done in 21-22. And the third step, using technology so that states and center will be clear as to where the money lies, and using technology they can see the flow of money and see where the treasury is receiving the money for which project, and therefore go ahead with state's contribution and build that. So the single nodal agency, which is for timely release of money and technology driven, so everybody knows where the money lies, was brought in 21-22, which has actually reformed. There are later instances where I'll explain about how that has helped us to see where money is lying idle, and therefore to that extent borrow less, pay interest less. So that has helped in fiscal management, sir. In 22-23, sir, debt consolidation was given a big priority. Strengthening states' liquidity position has been a big priority. I'll just give an example. Railway Minister is just sitting next to me. We've commenced complete financing of the capital outlays of railways and highways from the union budget. So this has lowered the cost of borrowing for railways itself for their projects, and as a result, today we are able to speedily fund their capital investments. We also advanced, and this will be very much in favor for the states, we advanced the devolution date. Every month tax is devolved to the states. For years it's been done on the 20th of the month. We said, why should it go till the middle of the month? Why can't it be paid earlier? So we moved the date from 20th of the month to 10th of the month itself, so that states can get it earlier. That was done so that the cash position in the states can be improved. Sir, we also did one more for the budget. Every year you have your budget estimates given during the budget presentation, and in the middle of the year suddenly one program loses enough money, they say we need more, so will you raise it in the supplementary demands for grants? Very well. There was a practice all the while to have 3 times supplementary demands. So it had 2 implications. One, your estimates were going for a toss, or your estimate itself was not based on the data which you get from the ground, and therefore we wanted to streamline that. And from that year, 22-23, we have brought in a fairly clear system of there will be supplementary demand, but only twice in a year, so that you are able to bring in a BE which is far more realistic rather than go along the year and keep adding for supplementary demands. So we have brought in that kind of a discipline for ourselves much more than for anybody, and that is paying adequate rewards. Last but one, 23-24, sir, we made sure the taxpayers get a relief. So the new tax regime was brought in, and we made it as the default regime, so that unless a person wants exemption, he will be part of the new tax regime. But if he states that he wants to be in the old, he can still be in the old if he thinks he's better off in that. So we brought that in, and we also raised the tax limit, meaning up to certain income that you don't pay tax at all, to 7 lakhs in that year. And using marginal benefit, meaning marginal relief being given to the taxpayer, up to 7.27 lakh an individual doesn't need to pay tax, was brought in 23-24, which of course this year we have gone up to the level of 12 lakhs. So 23-24 also saw a special scheme for women, Mahila Samman Bachat Patra. We brought it in 23-24 with very high interest for them, so that they benefit out of that money. We also doubled deposit limits in senior citizen savings schemes and monthly income scheme. So that way we were continuously bringing changes. And if I come to the current budget, sir, you see the trend continuing, new service and new instrument of service. That is in 24-25, I'm sorry, last budget, the July budget. New service, a new instrument of service limits, meaning states, ministries will be given higher limits up to which they can spend. This has been recommended by the PAC, and also we consulted the CAG and we brought it so that departments will have greater flexibility in spending more rather than for small amounts coming and seeking appropriation from the supplementary demands. So that has given more facility, more freedom for the departments to spend when they have an issue of a priority spending area. This is the 4th time since independence such a review has been undertaken, and we have brought it in this year, in 24-25 July budget. Similarly, one other major reform that we brought in was short-term T-bill borrowings have been drastically reduced. This has contributed for greater liquidity in the markets, in the financial system, so that private borrowers don't suffer. We don't get in, government doesn't get into the market and crowd them out. That situation shall not occur because we've now chosen to have short-term T-bill borrowings drastically cut down. We also did a buyback of G6 for about 88,000 crores. This one single step, sir, has resulted in interest saving of about 5,000 crores apart from infusing liquidity in the system. So other than what we do through the schemes, other than what we give through devolution, for managing the taxpayers' rupee far more efficiently, these are the steps that we have taken, and repeatedly proving to the taxpayer that paying the tax truly is going for nation building. So we have also, in the July budget, shown very clearly that we will have a debt consolidation pathway, and that pathway will enable our government debt to be brought down closer to 50% of GDP, of 50% of our GDP, from nearly 58% where it is now, 50% plus minus 1%. By 31st March 2031. That has been explained in the documents which have been given to the budget document last July budget. So again, if that is the trend through the budget making and the effective use of taxpayers' money, questions were raised if the fiscal consolidation has been at the cost of spending. I think in the brief opening remarks itself, I explained how there has not been any reduction in the money being given to the social sector. It actually balances available money wherever it is available effectively, and that is not cut down. But if questions are being asked about you're giving lesser now, whereas the project demands more, I broadly highlight the fact that because technology is now available for both the center and the states, you can see where the money is lying unutilized. And if that money is utilized, bills are raised, immediately we shall fund the money to the states. Now, whether it is lying in your treasury, whether it is lying in the SNA account, which is for a particular scheme, money is lying, sir. And big amounts are lying in various big schemes across states. I'm not pointing out for one state or another state or the third state. But if money is lying there, it is a money given, and many times borrowed money. If it is lying there, am I expected to borrow more money and put it in there and keep paying the interest? Or is it better that you use the money and post that I can borrow timely and give it to you? Or if I have the comfort of my revenue, I can even give it. But that which is lying unutilized today is available for the governments, wherever they are, state or the center, to see and to use it much before demands are made for additional resources. I wouldn't get into reading how much is lying where. It is part of the budget set of documents. You can see it in the budget document which is available, and it is in the annexure statement 4AA. So any honorable member can see which scheme money is lying within their state and use it far more effectively. And that would only make efficiency far more for the taxpayers' money. So, I've already said about the money which is going to the schemes, so I wouldn't take more of the House's time. About growth challenges, I understand two honorable members have spoken. I think it was Sulata Dev from BJD and also Honorable Member Kapil Sibal. So it is a matter of fact, as I said earlier, that there are challenges. There's no doubt about the challenges that not just India, every country is facing. For India in particular, to explain why the Q4 growth was low and why we think it is manageable in the forthcoming quarters is because of the adverse weather conditions which prevailed during the year, excess rainfall in some states, drought in some others, and also the model code of conduct because of the Lok Sabha elections. Most departments could not spend their money in time. As a result, the multiplier was not as much as you would calculate when you spend on your capital expenditure. Sir, former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram has raised quite a few issues, and I have answers for all of them, answers based on data. And I understand he has also communicated with me through a letter that he is unfortunately not going to be in the House today for unavoidable reasons, and I appreciate him communicating, saying that he is not going to be in the House. But nevertheless, because they are very important points, I will try to give answers for them. Talking of unemployment,
वैसे आपकी उदारता है, संसदीय परंपराओं में जो बोलकर चले जा उपस्थित नहीं हो तो उनका जवाब देना आवश्यक नहीं होता, पर आप उदारता पूर्वक दे रही, धन्यवाद.
Because वो information भी मुझे था.
अच्छा, उनको जानकारी जी जी धन्यवाद, ठीक है.
I've conceded that. Sir. No, I've conceded that. Sir, he had asked a question saying, the PLFS data has been released. The PLFS has said that unemployment rate is 3.2%. The same PLFS says youth unemployment is 10.2%. And the same PLFS says unemployment among graduates is 13%. So his question was, then how does PLFS conclude that unemployment rate is 3.2%? I have a bit of a discomfort, sir, in that it will be untypical of me to answer the way I'm answering, but I will do it with due deference. The blunt point is, sir, they are subsets and the lot are different lots. They don't sum up to become the average, which will have to be something else. You're comparing apples with oranges and then clubbing all the three and say, but how come it is 3.2%? The former finance minister, I'm sure, and I want to say this on record, is aware of it, but he still threw that question at me. With due respects, I want to tell him that 3.2 is the overall unemployment rate for the entire population. Whereas when you're talking of youth, it is a subset within which they are calculating the total. We need to improve in each one of them, there's no doubt. But to think that these did not add up to give a mean average is wrong. They are different sets. So I leave it there. I would think, oh, I'm surprised to hear that from former finance minister. I'm not saying that, but yes, surprises me. Sir, he also raised a question. What is the difference between new employment generation scheme and the PM employment generation scheme, that is PMEGP? Again, they are definitely different. Why are they different, sir? The new employment generation scheme, which was announced in the July budget, had 3 different schemes within it. One which will take care of first-time job seekers, for whom there is a particular scheme, the particular provision which is given, the first-time job seeker will be given this much if he's moment taken in, and so on. And a scheme B within that set of 3 is job creation in manufacturing, where we incentivize for the employer additional employment that he will bring, either of first-timer or of somebody who's moving from one job to another. So this is linked to employment, and first-time employees were much more given that kind of an attention. An incentive will be provided at specified scale directly to both the employee and the employer through the EPFO route, so it is registered, it's transparent, everyone can see how much is going to which employer for which employee that he brought in additionally. And that scheme will last for 4 years. So for 4 years, if the same employee continues with the new employee company and continues with the employer, the incentive keeps flowing. So that's the second one. And the third one is to support employers, where all additional employment within a salary limit of 1 lakh per month will be counted, and the government will reimburse employers up to 3,000 rupees per month for 2 years towards the EPFO contribution for each additional employee. So the new employment generation scheme had these 3 distinct employment creating schemes. Whereas PM Employment Generation Program, PMEGP, is one of the flagship programs of the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises, MSME. It assists prospective entrepreneurs in setting up of new micro enterprises, particularly in the non-farm sector, for generating employment by providing margin money and subsidy to the bank loan. So the character, the nature, the purpose, and the method of PMEGP is this, and the PM's new scheme of employments, which are 3 distinct. So as a basket, the 3 distinct versus the PM Employment Guarantee Program are totally two different things. So the difference between the 2 is what came as a question. This is what I would want to give as answer. So there was also this question about high inflation, food inflation, asked by several members, former finance minister, and several other members who joined in as well. So as per the data released yesterday, the CPI inflation for January 25 fell to 4.31% from 5.22%. This is now closer to the lower end of RBI's inflation target, which is in the range of 4%. So the steep correction, particularly in tomato, onion, and potato prices, actually these 3 are key components in the CPI food basket. And additionally, decline in pulses inflation supported by tariff-free imports. For the pulses that we don't produce adequately for our consumption, we import, but we made a conscious policy of removing the tariff when the import comes in so that we don't add to the price of the landed pulses. So as per the RBI's report on 7th February, sir, CPI inflation for 25-26 is projected to be lower at 4.2% only. So food inflation, which gets triggered when you have an adverse weather condition, and supply chain disruptions are being managed by a group of ministers who are ensuring that timely import happens if there is a shortfall in the supply. So as a result, I think with the first advanced estimates on agricultural production, 24-25 being what it is, Kharif food grain production is expected to be at 5.7%. So the production of rice and tur dal is expected to increase by 5.9% and 2.5% respectively compared to 23-24. So the prices of food will be well under the inflation radar is the kind of advance estimates which we are getting. But despite that, the group of ministers will be keenly monitoring. So what did this budget do, the current budget which is waiting for clearance? In 100 districts where agricultural productivity is really low, we have come up with a scheme called PM Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, so that agri activities are given impetus, productivity is increased, so that more produce come into the market. Many other things are also added in it. Atmanirbharta for pulses, so that we grow as much and more of pulses, of all variety of pulses that we consume in this country. Then comprehensive program for vegetables and fruits, so that supply remains abundant. And a national mission for high-yielding seeds are also brought in, so that production of high-yielding seeds will result in greater agricultural produce in the market. So I have expanded and explained about how governments attempt to get subsidized dal, subsidized rice, subsidized atta come into the market in the name of Bharat Chana Dal, Bharat Atta. I just want to say how much is already sold in the market. And that selling is going to help because if you look at totally between the phase 1 and phase 2, Bharat Chana Dal, 13.8 lakh tons are already sold. Bharat Atta, 16.0 lakh tons are already sold. Rice, 15.3 lakh tons are already sold. So with Chana whole, moong, dal and so on. So it is clear that government's attempt to remove the stress of price rise is actually being received in the ground. The efforts will continue. We shall make sure that price should not be a burden on the ordinary citizens. We shall support this subsidized atta, wheat and rice and chana dal and so on. So inflation management, again, I think we have made sure that we are addressing the problem. I'm not getting into a comparison game because by now it is very clear who manages inflation a lot more in time and who doesn't. So the depreciation of the rupee was also something which very many members spoke about. I want to spend a minute on it. Many of the members are still here who have been talking about it. The value of the Indian rupee, sir, is influenced by several factors which I'm sure honorable members know about it. Those factors are the movement of the dollars, the index of the dollar, trends in capital flows, level of interest rates, movement in crude prices, current account deficit, so on, so many of them. Quarter 4 of 2024 certainly witnessed extensive currency-related volatility across major countries, not just India. So Indian rupee, like other Asian currencies, depreciated against the US dollar on account of uncertainty pervading the global macro economy. US dollar index rose to 6.5% during October 21, 2024 to January 27, 2025. Major Asian currencies such as the Korean won, Indonesian rupiah, Malaysian ringgit depreciated by 8.1%, 6.4% and 5.9% respectively. G10 currencies also depreciated during this period by more than 5.5%. For instance, the Japanese yen, British pound and euro depreciated by 7.0%, 6.6% and 5.8% respectively. So the government, we believe that overvalued currencies erode national competitiveness as exports become expensive and domestic companies will have to be given support. So I would like to allay the concerns or apprehensions of the honorable members on account of INR fluctuation. The government and RBI will continue to exercise necessary vigilance. So RBI's efforts in making sure the Indian rupee is stabilized are several. I wouldn't want to take the House's time on it, but these are details which I lay on the table. Any honorable members who want to see it can go into the details of how RBI is constantly keeping a watch on the volatility of Indian rupee. So there was an interesting question raised by the former finance minister. Reduction of external affairs budget. In fact, he started his debate participation by talking about that at the outset. Made me feel that why would he want to start talking on external affairs rather than talking about many other finance ministry related specifics. But he wanted to ask as to reduction on external affairs budget. Are we reducing India's global presence was his question, sir. I was a bit surprised by this. The total expenditure of Ministry of External Affairs in 23-24 was about 28,914 crores. It included 8,193 crore for payment to Exim Bank. And why would it include payment to Exim Bank? Because Exim Bank was almost compelled towards invoking guarantees against doubtful debts. Exim Bank supports a lot of activity overseas, and in the instance of the payments not coming in time, they will have to invoke guarantee. So that guarantee being invoked by Exim Bank will have to be filled up by the government, and therefore 8,193 crore was given in the year 23-24. That thankfully didn't have to be given again. So to that extent, the amount has come down. So that doesn't mean external affairs' budget has come down, but that unique situation, not very fortunate, but unique situation which arose, where guarantees being invoked had to be supported because of bad debts outside. It could be a line of credit which given to some country which is in distress, whatever. That doesn't get repeated. So to that extent, this year's allocation to Ministry of External Affairs does not include that amount. So the 24-25 external affairs is about 25 to 77 crores, which also includes 4,383 crore for payment to Exim Bank towards guarantees invoked against doubtful debts. 23-24 had it, 24-25 had it, but 24-25 had half of what was given earlier, 8,100, 4,300. As a result, if the amount provided for payment to Exim Bank towards guarantees invoked against doubtful debt is excluded, if it is excluded, core expenditure of budgetary provision of MEA in 23-24 and RE 24-25 is 20,721 crore and 20,984 crore respectively. So there is no reduction for MEA. And just as a matter of details, the total amount received from Government of India during 22-23 to 23-24 aggregated, as I said, 8,191 crore. Of the above 8,000 odd crores, an amount aggregating to 7,160 crore, that is 87% of it, pertains to LOCs extended prior to May 2014. They were extended at that time. We are like, sir, you're a Hindi scholar. I don't want to risk my Hindi. Bhugat bogi. What do you say? Booked bogi. We are booked bogi of what happened prior to May 2014. Sir, also one question which was raised by many other members was about food subsidy. Food subsidy, sir. Provision made under food subsidy 25-26 is realistic and it factors reduced costs. on account of the gains accruing from equity infusion made by Government of India for Food Corporation of India. 11,000 crores was infused into FCI in 23-24. As a result, the provision reflects that and rationalizes to that extent. So this has helped actually in that it helps reduce its short-term borrowing, and that has to be kept in mind, sir. So infusion has helped. Fertilizer subsidies, sir, 2024-25, 1.64 lakh crores was given. It has been increased to 1.68 lakh crore for 25-26. So no, we have not reduced. And let us also recall that in the Purvanchal area, sir, 3 urea factories which were lying idle have been revived because of Purvanchal, Purvodaya, which is a big point which Honorable Prime Minister believes in and wants to revive the eastern region. And 3 of them are all in the eastern region. Now to add further, this budget has restored Namrup in Assam so that 12.7 lakh metric tons of urea can be produced, and that can also add to our fertilizer urea availability and a reduction in the imports. So these are steps taken one by one with a conscious attempt to make sure the eastern region can grow and grow well. So I'm not sure if facts of these questions which have been raised by many members have not been answered earlier. Maybe they were answered earlier. But I'd like to just highlight some of the issues where is it a Bihar bonanza budget? Is it a budget only for one state? Does it mean that no other state gets anything? It's repeatedly been asked, and I've been answering this. So I just want to highlight, and also the question that you've not consulted the states before getting this budget. Not true at all, sir. Every year before the budget is made, all finance ministers from states spend a whole day talking about what are the states' priorities. We listen to them patiently and also include them in our budget making process. And I already expanded on the point that 1.5 lakh crore is the amount that we have now made provision for capital assets for states. So regional imbalances and infrastructure gap, PM Gati Shakti actually tells you where the gap is for which infrastructure program, and therefore we are able to fund them better. And regional imbalances are also being addressed. I already said 25.01 lakh crores is what is being projected to be given in the year 25-26. So whether it's Bihar or only BJP states, it's just an unfounded allegation. I want to dispel that thought from the members. I'll give you the details, sir. Punjab, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji has informed the Rajya Sabha in December itself that 38 national highway projects were sanctioned in the last 3 years for Punjab, and for the development of 825 kilometers of roads amounting to 22,160 crore only for Punjab. Telangana, sir. Kakatiya Mega Textile Park in Warangal, announced as PM Mitra Mega Textiles Park. In August 2024, Union Cabinet approved industrial node in Zahirabad under the National Industrial Corridor Development Program. These are 2 major big-ticket items being done for Telangana.
Please,
sir,
please,
the Jharkhand,
no,
sir.
Please, no.
In Jharkhand.
No. Please, not going on record. Renka ji, बैठ जाए, not going on record. Please, not permitted. Please, no.
Sir, let me hear it, sir.
Please, please take it. Honorable Finance Minister, please speak. Please. Please. बीच में बिना चेयर की अनुमति के न बोले. Please, no. Please.
So what was it, sir? So what is that question, sir? I'm quite willing to answer. What is that question, sir? So let me hear it, sir.
It's related. It's related Reorganization Act compensation.
Sir, AP Reorganization Act and what has been given to Telangana, as much as I'm sure the other side of the AP Reorganization Act will immediately get up and say, what have you given us? I'm willing to answer every question on that. AP Reorganization Act, as to what has been given in particular for Telangana, I'm willing to spend a few minutes on it, as much as I would probably now or a bit later mention, and probably I will say this one line at the beginning, whether it is this party or that party, doesn't matter. I'm talking on behalf of the state Telangana, people Telangana, as much as all of us want to talk. At the time of reorganization, post the Reorganization Act getting passed, Telangana was revenue surplus. Today, it is, I'm sorry to say, I'm not picking on any one state, every state has its issues. But today, the debt that Telangana is in, despite the measures taken by the central government, I will read this out, and I'm not blaming this party or that party, I repeat. But AP Reorganization Act, and to that extent Telangana, what it should get. I will point by point say, some of which I'll say with your permission, sir. I mentioned about Kakatiya Mega Textile Park, Zahirabad as a corridor nodal point, then Samakka Saraka Central Tribal University, part of the Reorganization Act. The foundation stone also has been laid for AIIMS in BB Nagar, close to Warangal. Roadways, 2,605 kilometers of national highway constructed in Telangana since 2014, AP Reorganization Act ke baad. 4 greenfield corridors being built under Bharatmala project in Telangana. Railways, record railway budget allocation of 5,337 crores. Since June 2024, Union Cabinet approved new lines between Erupalem and Namburu and between Malkangiri and Pandurangapuram. Constructed 753 kilometers of new tracks in Telangana since 2014. 5 Vande Bharat trains introduced and started from Telangana. 40 railway stations being redeveloped for Telangana. Social infrastructure, sir. Over 2 lakh houses being built under PM Awas Urban, completed. 31 lakh household toilets constructed under Swachh Bharat mission. 38 lakh tap water connections provided under Jal Jeevan mission, Telangana. 82 lakh Ayushman cards provided. 199 Jan Aushadhi Kendras operationalized. 1.2 lakh Jan Dhan accounts opened. And over 75 lakh Mudra accounts sanctioned.
Please. Let Honorable Finance Minister conclude her speech, please. No, it's not open discussion. No, please.
Jharkhand,
It is
sir.
a please take your very gentleman. Please, madam, take you. She has replied in detail. No. बहुत विस्तार से माननीय फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ने जवाब दिया है. अब नो डिस्कशन फर्दर. नो, लेट हर स्पीक.
I've added one more, sir.
आपकी बात रिकॉर्ड पे जाएगी. आप
I'd like to add one more, sir. Telangana, for the 9 districts, which is the backward districts, as per the Reorganization Act, 50 crores for each district, which is 450 crores into 6 installments. Total of 2,700 crores provided for this backward district development for 9 districts, all Telangana.
Please, please. Please. Let Honorable Finance Minister continue, please.
Sir, Dr. Lakshman from Telangana is right in saying that. I forgot it. Srimati Indira Gandhi had contested from Medak district, Medak constituency. All right, sir. She won from Medak, represented that constituency. But who has given the first railway station for Medak? Prime Minister Modi. Sir, Telangana throbs for Ramagundam, sir. Very important. Very important. Who has helped revive that Ramagundam, sir, for Telangana? Prime Minister Modi. So, the capacity of Ramagundam, sir, after the revival is 12.7 lakh metric tons. Also for the record. So, no state.
Please take your... No, she has replied in detail. I'm not allowed to, madam. You're a very senior man. Please take your seat. No. आप सभी बैठिए. Please.
No state has been ignored under Prime Minister Modi.
Please, you all sit.
तो वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमण राज्यसभा में आम बजट पर सामान्य चर्चा का जवाब दे रही थी। उन्होंने भारत के विकास के लिए और अर्थव्यवस्था को बेहतर बनाने के लिए जो कुछ कदम उठाए थे उनको सिलसिलेवार तरीके से सदन के सामने रखा और साथ ही जो तमाम सारे सवाल थे सांसदों के, सदस्यों के, राज्यसभा के सांसदों के, विपक्ष के सांसदों के,